Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we're going to take a look at the brand new 2024 Acura TLX Type S. This is a refresh for this Acura sedan. This model is finished off in one of two brand new colors called Urban Gray Pearl, and the MSRP is just over $58,000. Now this is powered by a 3-liter turbocharged V6 paired to a 10-speed automatic transmission, pumping out 355 horsepower, 354 pound-feet of torque. That power is sent through the SH all-wheel drive system. This weighs in right around 4,200 pounds. It'll do 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds. Top speed is 155 miles an hour. It also has a fuel capacity of 15.9 gallons. You'll expect to see around 19 miles per gallon in the city, 25 out on the highway. This has a wheelbase of 113 inches. Its overall length is 194.6. It has a width of 75.2 and a height of 57.4 inches. As we move on to the exterior styling now for the refresh on the TLX, really the only exterior difference you will notice is a new front bumper. So it has, for this model, gloss black for the entire lower section with some very nice contoured edges with inlets on both sides as well as the cutout right in the middle. Definitely gives it a sporty appearance from the front, especially with those two lines on both sides there. Now the Acura badge is front and center, which is also the sensor for the adaptive cruise. There's a forward-facing camera, and you'll notice that the design in the grille is almost like an explosion from the Acura badge. So jetting out both ways, where there's also the Type S badge. And this also has a slim set of LED headlights along with the turn signals and DRLs. With the bodywork surrounding them, they are very nicely integrated into this front end. And then there's some great lines that come down the hood, meeting the top of that grille, which also has some very prominent lines and points for the entire surround there. Now, as we work our way to the side, this is one of the 3 new wheel options available. These are 20x9. They are finished off in bronze, with the Acura Brembo brakes just behind there. I think it's a really cool color combo. You'll notice red on the Type S too, so it matches with the brake calipers, and I think the bronze and the urban gray is definitely a great color combo. Now for the side mirrors, there's the turn signal. The mirror caps are finished off in gloss black. This does have a sunroof up top. All the window trim is blacked out too. And then from the side, some very nice edges and lines. The one in the lower section there has a nice curve to it, and then there's some more lines just at the height of the door handle, leading all the way to this rear fender that has a nice arch to it. And in back, this has a really nice trunk-mounted spoiler that is finished off in gloss black. There's the backup camera integrated into the Acura badge itself. Very nice set of LED taillights. There's all the parking sensors and a quad-tip dual exhaust with some fins in that gloss black diffuser. So that gives it a more sporty appearance from the rear, of course. And as we work our way to the cargo space now, you can use the button on the key fob or this button on the right side, where this will open up. It is not power operated, but it's nice that it will open up as you begin to load this with items. And in back, there's a fairly good bit of space. Up underneath the floor, not too much space, but you could place in some additional items if you really needed to. And it goes out both ways, so you can fit in some longer items sideways. Now, you can actually fold down the back seats, so you can pull those tabs on both sides. However, you will notice that there's a crossbar for extra rigidity and support for this Type S. So it does limit what items you can put through, but you do have some room underneath that X and on the side. So you could make it work. Very interesting to see that, but of course, this is the performance version, being the Type S. It also features the sport suspension too. So this is a vehicle that is hopefully going to handle very, very well with those modifications. Now, as we work our way to the back seats, this has a beautiful interior. There's red leather surrounding the armrest here, along with the black leather and stitching. This has the ELS Studio 3D audio system. There's also a little bit of storage in the lower section there, and then more of the red and the black accents for these back seats. Now at 5'10", there's actually a good bit of space in the back. I do have the front seat set at my height. We have storage pockets in the back, some climate vents, as well as auxiliaries. And I have maybe ½ inch or so above my head. It doesn't feel like a small sedan. I could definitely be comfortable riding around in the back and possibly having 2 other people back here with me. Now you get a little bit of storage in the armrest along with 2 cup holders. and a pretty good amount of visibility. We have some large windows on both sides. So it's definitely very doable, making this a practical sedan. Now up front, door panel is just like the rear. However, there are memory seating controls, side mirror adjustments. They are power folding. There's all the window controls, trunk release, and even more storage space. And then Type S is down on the door sill. It's also in the headrest. So it's nice to see that, along with the design for these front seats, which are automatic. So all of those controls are on the side. Now, as we take a look at the interior, we have the flat bottom design for this Type S steering wheel, along with perforations and solid leather, some more red stitching. But let's start this back up and we'll take a listen to that exhaust. And looking at the digital gauge cluster, this and the infotainment system are both actually new for this refresh. So for the current gauge cluster setup, the tach is on the left side, along with your driving mode, your gear selector, engine temperature. Right side, there's miles per hour and the fuel. Now, to go through that information, over on this left side, you'll notice there's a power button. So that is actually for the audio, so you can turn that on and off. There's volume underneath that, Bluetooth controls, and then you have menu and the scrolling dial. So menu is actually going to go into the head-up display. So from what I've been able to tell, the entire gauge cluster is actually fixed in that setting. So up on the head-up display, hopefully you will be able to tell. Currently, I am looking at phone, and I can scroll down to your Sirius. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are now wireless for this 24-year model. And you have your Bluetooth, your normal radio, some USB settings. You can actually select your driving view as well. So now it's pulling up with navigation and some menu icons that you can pull up. So not a whole lot of information to go through, but it is nice to have that on the head-up display. Very easy to see, a little bit better in person, of course, than on camera. Now on this right side, you have your cruise control settings along with your steering assist, and then you can go through some information on the right side of the gauge cluster screen. So we'll start with some trip information. There's also navigation. You have some vitals that you can pull up, TPMS, your all-wheel drive, even a drive attention level, and a few others here. So that's about all that you can go through. You do have some settings that you can look at just to see what you'd like to adjust that to, but it's nice that you can at least scroll through that with this digital gauge cluster. Now this also has steering wheel mounted paddle shifters that have a nice feel to them. And on the left side, there is adjustments for the head-up display, so you can adjust the tilt of it and the brightness. There's also a safety sense that you can turn on and off for that technology. There's a defroster, parking sensors, traction control, dimmer switch for the gauges, as well as the e-brake. Really nice dark trim surrounding the one air vent there. And then as we work our way to the infotainment system, this is not a touchscreen system. So in order to use this, you have controls down below. There's back, home, and then you have these controls here with the pads behind that. So on the home screen right now, if I use that pad in the back, you'll notice it will follow my finger. So obviously I can put my finger where I would like the information to be. You do have to hold your finger before you can click down in order to get into that information. Now by pushing on home, we can go back to this screen, where over on that right side, you can actually use half of the screen to pull up some more information. So now you have that separate mouse pad that you can use for what you would like to see in the split screen on that far right side. So there's not a whole lot of information to go through, but it's nice that you do have these icons here that you can use. I do wish it was touch screen, so it's interesting to see that. But you can scroll through all this, even get through your ambient lighting, and this is basically some of the info that you saw on the head-up display. So I'm assuming that you can configure that to see what you would like to see on the dash. Underneath that, there's the hazards, as well as all of the climate adjustments. So you have your temperatures and fan speed that you can go through, as well as where you'd like the air to go, turning this on and off. This even has heated and ventilated front seats, along with some automatic adjustments. And right in the middle, this rotary dial is for the different driving modes. So there's sport mode, there's also normal, you have comfort, and then when you go back to sport and hold on the icon, you can go into Sport Plus. And then pushing on the center goes to an individual setting that you can customize and configure. So it's mainly just going to adjust your throttle response. We'll see how that is once we get this out on the road. Now underneath that, there's engine start stop along with the brake hold. And then with my foot on the brake, this is how you put the vehicle into reverse. Neutral is just by pushing that icon behind that, and then you have drive and sport mode at the very back. And then you have a few different camera angles depending on what you would like to see, and you can even adjust the brightness for it. A little bit tricky to use with that trackpad system, but you can still go through that and of course have the backup camera. And then when you push on this twice, that goes into S mode for the paddle shifters. And then behind that, there's volume and tuning for the radio. Nice little place you can rest your hand while you're using these controls here. Wireless charging is behind that. And then there are 2 cup holders. You get some auxiliaries in the armrest with a good bit of space. And then the glove box, of course, has plenty of room for all of those items. Now there's some garage door buttons up underneath the rear view mirror there. Sunglass holder up top. And then with the sunroof, sunshade is manual adjusting. And then you have the sunroof controls up top. Here's a look at visibility from the driver's seat. So it's not a big vehicle, but you can even see over this left shoulder. So there's really not any blind spots. As we set up now behind the wheel for the Acura TLX Type S, it's a few days later. I have a lot more miles with this vehicle under my belt. This is a really cool family style sedan, and this will be the first time that I'm taking it on some twisty roads. So let's put into Sport Plus, where you can automatically tell a difference with both the throttle response as well as the exhaust getting a little bit louder. I think it looks a little bit more aggressive from the outside than from the noise that you hear on the inside. But if you're looking for more of a luxury focused sedan, but you want something that has performance, wow, these paddles are incredibly responsive. And for this tight and narrow road, this seems to be doing just fine. We have a few more twisties that we can take this through. I am genuinely impressed right now. As you saw earlier, there's that bar, the structural bar behind the back seats, and we have the Sport Tune suspension. Wow, this is impressive. This is a vehicle that I feel comfortable enough right now that you could hang with some sports cars, some other more performance-oriented vehicles. And we got a squirrel. I feel like this is on par with maybe like even a Kia Stinger. This is something that can kind of compete with the Lexus ES F Sports, which is not really a performance vehicle. The S4, it's a competitor too. It kind of seems like it's in that luxury brand, but it offers performance like a BMW sedan would be, like an M340, something like that. Wow. The one thing I will say is that you can't actually put what gear you're in on the head-up display, so it's down at the very lower section in the lower left. Kind of hard to spot, so I haven't been able to know what gear I'm in unless I'm looking down there, and on a road like that, I'm not looking down. So it'd be nice if that was on the head-up display. It just shows you miles per hour as well as your brightness. So I do wish there was more of a sport gauge cluster info head-up display, especially in Sport S Plus, which I've had it in. Let's just do a 0 to 60 here. So foot on the brake. I don't think this has launch control, but we'll go ahead and give it an acceleration. There's 60 right there. Not bad. I wouldn't say it's throw you back in your seat fast, but honestly, that run that we're going to go back on was very impressive. I have nothing bad to say with the handling and the power from this TLX. It sounds pretty good. Brakes do a great job. Shifts are so smooth and quick. And the fact that we have all-wheel drive allows you to have that power, to have more traction, to get that power down coming around the turns. And it's very comfortable too. Even with this suspension, there's no body roll, but just daily driving it, it's been very comfortable and relaxing to drive. This is very, very impressive. For its size as well, even bumps like that, not all that bad. But even for its size too, it's very practical as a daily driving sedan. So there's definitely no shortage of space. Oh yeah. Wow. You forget that you're in a sedan behind the wheel. This feels like a sports car, as it should, but wow, so impressive. All right, well, let's dial it back into more of a normal setting now. We'll go into normal or comfort here, where now the throttle response is significantly different. Exhaust note got a little bit quieter, and now you can drive this from point A to point B just like a normal vehicle. You can put it back into drive so you don't have to use these paddle shifters here. And we are in Sport S Plus into second gear. Here we go. Hopefully you can hear just how quick those shifts are. Now if we dial it back, let's just go into normal mode, where you can still use the paddles, but the throttle response just isn't quite there. So it's nice to see that there is a difference. Oh, there we go, Sport Plus. There's a big difference between these driving modes, and you can see that animation pop up there. But this is what it's like to be behind the wheel for the Acura TLX, and the performance driving, the characteristics and the handling of this is so nice. This is a car that if you're taking on a road trip and you happen to be going through the mountains, well, you can have fun while you're getting to your destination, because this is a car that is going to give you the performance on these twisties to really utilize the power of this vehicle. Like I mentioned earlier, it's not a fast car, it's definitely quick. It's not going to rip through these gears, but you're going to have a ton of usable power all the way up to about 6,000 RPM here to get up and move. Definitely a great place to be. I love the seating position. Steering wheel has good notches on both sides to give you this grip that you need. And overall, it's kind of a basic interior. We don't have a lot of controls and everything to go over as far as the gauge cluster and all that. Even the heads-up display is not all that configurable. So it is a little bit more basic, but it gives you almost everything that you want without having to go through a million different things. So I do like the fact that it's easy to use, minus not being touchscreen there, but everything is very simple, straightforward. You have the performance, you get a luxury brand like Acura here. We even have the interior ambient lighting, which will change red for the Sport S Plus mode. And it's honestly, even in the Sport S Plus mode, it's still comfortable, quiet, daily driver friendly, and something that you can just have fun with, some performance driving at that $50,000, mid-50s. You can break 60 depending on options, but for the price, not all that bad with this performance and handling that you get. That is going to wrap it up for the 2024 Acura TLX Type S. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a huge thumbs up. Consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads, and I will see you all in the next video.